Everybody, this is Kim coming in with The Shy. So let's get this started. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment, click the thumbs up button. Let's go. Okay, this episode starts off with the character by the name of Kuji or Kuki, and he's riding his bike around the town, you know, just like he's having a good time. He stops at the corner store to buy some beef jerky and a soda. And you could tell he's, everybody know him, and they know that he's a good kid, and he plays around with the people who own the store, trying to convince them to sell him those items at a cheaper cost. So once he leaves there, he ends up going in an alley to feed this dog. It's not actually a stray dog. It looks like it belongs to someone, but he's just kind of real friendly with the dog. As he's feeding the dog, he hears some commotion inside the house. So next, after the commotion, he noticed a truck. It looked like a Cadillac truck, but I'm not sure. I could just tell by the lights in the back of it. But he noticed a truck speeds off. He ended up leaving it and going around to the front of the house, and that's when he sees some kid is laying on the corner dead. He ends up, checking the dead body. See if the guy have any money. He ended up taking the little boy's shoes and a necklace. So by then, he heard the siren, so he's trying to hurry up and leave, and he go and stash his bike in his backpack, and next thing you know, he kind of throw his hood on his head and, tuck his hair, thinking that the police is not gonna, recognize him. So as he's walking with this little group trying to act like he, trying to blend in with the group or whatever, the police notice him. Next thing you know, they just tackle him, lock him up, haul him off to jail. Now it goes to the next character, and his name is Brandon, which is Kuji or Kuki's older brother. And he's at work, he work at a restaurant, and he's cooking and everything. And yeah, you could tell Brandon is really good at cooking. The owner's wife or the owner of the restaurant come to him and say, it's a top shelf position is coming available. Maybe you should throw your name in the running. And he was like, no, the other guy been here longer, so maybe he should be in the running. She was like, no, you twice as better than him or whatever. To me, she comes across as if she's kind of digging him, but I guess we'll see in a couple of more episodes, I guess. I don't know, but she comes off as if she kind of like him. Brandon tells one of his co-workers, even the co-worker think that the old girl want to give him a little cat. But he was like, no, I got plans. Me and my girl Jerica, we gonna open up a restaurant. So, I'm trying to keep it business. Now it goes to our next character. The little boy name is Kevin and his sister Keisha. They're walking to school, and she trying to make sure her little brother is fresh. She trying to straighten him up and clean his shoes. Of course, he's embarrassed. He's scared some of his classmates gonna see him. Kevin is now at school, and he's just standing on the steps, watching some little girl that he kind of want to holler at, but he's a little shy. He don't think that that she'll be into him. So now Kevin friends Poppy and Jake is now teasing him, like, go ahead and talk to her, and they kind of making fun of him. Now Kevin decides to go. Well, his friends force him to talk to the little girl. Her name is Andrea, and they force him to talk to her, and she's basically giving him the cold shoulder. She like, no, if you want to talk to me, you got to sign up for this play. Trying to holler at her. He's going to do whatever it takes to win her over. So he signs up for the play. So now they introduce another character, and his name is Emmett. And this must be Keisha's boyfriend. So Keisha ended up skipping school and going to Emmett's house. They smash her. She's basically giving him a little head. And I'm sure everybody knows what that is. So And now while Keisha and Emmett trying to get their thing on, his phone keeps ringing. And she keep on asking him, you know, who is that keep calling? And he trying to say it's his friend, but all along Keisha know it's some chick. So Emmett noticed his mother is coming home, and he tell Keisha, you gotta get under the bed. You know, my mom's coming. And she like, I'm not getting under the bed. And next thing she know, she hear his mother like, you know, what I tell you about closing doors in my house. So she instantly goes under the bed. The mother knocks on the door, and he was like, what? He opened up the door or whatever. And she was like, you know, if that's all you're gonna do is fuck and get high, you know, you need to be paying me some rent. She noticed he's acting funny. So she sits on the bed and say, what's your name, girl? And Emmett is like, what? Who you talking to? And she was like, what's your name? And then Keisha say, Keisha. She asked Keisha if she wants some sausage or some bacon. Keisha like, yeah. So she basically tell Emmett to help the little girl up, you know, get herself together, whatever. This is when they introduce Ronnie. Ronnie comes out the house and his friends and them just kind of talking a little bit, and he's, you know, trying to holler at some little girl. A detective Cruz, comes to Ronnie and say, hey, I need to talk to you. And Ronnie's like, you know, nah, man, I ain't got nothing else to say to you. As the detective tell Ronnie to get in the car, he tell him, you know, I got to talk to you about your son, Jason. He gets in the car and he like, you know what? You know, he was like, you know, yeah, Jason was found dead last night on 79th. And, you know, Ronnie is just like, wow, you know, what is he doing up there? You know, and he was like, yeah, he was shot twice in the chest. You know, I can't believe it. It's, you know, he a good kid. So the detective asked him, you know, are you in his life? And he was like, yeah, I try to be. You know, he went all state last year. You know, he's a good kid. You know, I try to be in his life. So he's just kind of looking out the window, just really upset. Okay, so Ronnie asked the detective if he could see the body. So he takes him to the morgue, and as he's there, he see, I think her name is Jeanette. Jeanette is there, you know, she's crying and everything, so he tried to comfort her, and she tells the police, you know, you need to find who did this, as you know, she's crying, and he was like, you know, we got somebody. Back to Brandon, he's off work, and Jerica is there to pick him up off work, and they hug, and she tell him, you know, you need to deal with your mother. She's mad because she don't have your number and she's drunk. So now Brandon and his girlfriend is now at home, and Laverne, which is Coogie's and Brandon's mother, is at their house. And she tells them, you know, Coogie is locked up and I need to get down there. You know, and he was like, Brandon's like, what happened? She was like, I don't know. I just need to get down there. And his girlfriend says something, you know, and Laverne just go off on her, you know, don't tell me this. She just goes completely off on Brandon. And, you know, the girlfriend's like, here, you just take the car and, you know, I'll go on the, you know, I'll find my way to work, you know. And Laverne like, you know, what kind of man don't even have his own car, you know? She just really going in on Brandon, you know. She just, and she feels, she don't like the girlfriend from what I'm seeing. She think the girlfriend is bougie and, you know, Miss Know-It-All, and she don't like her at all. So now it goes back to Coogie. That's what we're gonna call him. We're gonna call him Coogie until we figure out the correct name. So Coogie is now, you know, being interrogated by the police, and, you know, he comes across as if he don't know that this is serious. You know, yeah, you wasn't doing nothing, and yeah, you didn't kill the kid, but the police don't know that. So he's coming across, he's joning on the cop, talking about his shoes. He don't realize that this is serious and you could be charged with murder. You know, so eventually he tells the cop that, you know, I was just back there feeding a dog. That's all I was doing. I don't know what happened. Detective Cruz finally realized that, you know, Coogie is just a good kid, and he didn't have anything to do with the murder of the killing of Jason. You know, he just happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time. So as he's leaving out, it's another detective out, you know, outside the room, kind of looking in to see what's going on. So you could tell that cop, he don't care. He want to blame anybody that he can for this murder. You know, he's basically, Detective Cruz tell him, you know, he's a good kid. He wasn't doing that. He was just feeding a dog. And the other detective is like, you know, feeding a dog? Why was he doing that? And Detective Cruz is like, because he liked dogs, you know. And he was like, yeah, okay. So now it goes back to Kevin still at school. You know, now the little girl, Andrea, she bring him the script. Like, here you go the script. And you can tell he really don't want to do it. So as she walk off, his boys, Papa and Jake is basically telling him he a fool. You know, you don't even want to be in this play, but you're doing it because you like the girl. So now it's back on Emmett. Emmett at the store trying to buy him some new shoes. One of his baby mamas roll up and like, hey, you need to start taking care of your son. And he was like, that ain't my son. And she like, he looked just like you. And he was like, nah, he looked just like the other dude you smashed. She pissed, and they basically arguing in there, and the baby's crying. And he like, okay, come on, we gonna take a DNA test right now. But that outfit Emmett got on, what the hell is going on with that outfit? That outfit is a mess. So now Coogie is getting out of jail. You know, the mama and Laverne and Brandon is out there waiting on him, and as soon as he come out, she instantly get on his head. He was like, all right, mama, I ain't, you know. She's instantly on his head. Brandon shakes his hand, and the detective tell him, you know, we see him standing over a body over there on the 9. That's where the body was, and Coogie was standing over it. That's what the cop tell him. So now Laverne is outside the police station telling Coogie, you know, we can't trust the police. You know, what are you doing? Brandon tells her, you know, well, maybe he needs to just stay with us for a couple of days, you know, just for a little while. And Laverne really don't want him to stay with Brandon, you know, but she give in and let him. So now it's back to Emmett, and it's the next day. And his mother is knocking on his door trying to wake him up. And when he gets out the bed, he hear a baby crying. And he opened up the door, of course. And his mother hand him the baby. And he was like, you know, what, you know, And she was like, here, take your baby. She dropped the baby off and just left. And he was like, wait a minute, hold on. This ain't even my baby. And she hand him the letter that says he's the father. So he want her to watch the baby so he could go and find the baby's mother. And his mother is like, no, I'm not doing that, you know. And he was like, well, you know, I don't have a car seat. She was like, that ain't my problem. Basically, you know, you should pull out. You should stop having all these kids, because I'm done raising nappy head little boys. So now Emmett has to step up and beat his baby's father. Back at Brandon's house, and it's Brandon, Coogie, and Jerica. And Brandon just whipped up a dish, some kind of sandwich, and, you know, they eating it. And, you know, Coogie's like, yeah, you know, okay, yeah, it's good. And he was like, well, you know, this is one of the meals, one of the items that's gonna be on my restaurant's list, on the menu. And Jerica's like, on your restaurant. And she was like, well, he was like, on ours. So now they headed out and they get ready to go. Coogie says, you know, I gotta get out of here before somebody steal my bike, because he hid his bike the night before. So now Coogie and Brandon is at the train, and they get ready to part ways. Give him the key and say, you know, okay, call Jerica before you come, so, you know, she'll know you're on your way. So he said, all right. They, you know, give a little hug or whatever, and they go their separate ways. So Coogie makes it back to his little stash spot, and he noticed his stuff is still there. So he puts the necklace on and he look at the shoes and he get on his bike and he rides over to Emmett's house and he sell Emmett the shoes, and you know, now he's just feeling good that he got a little money in his pocket. Scene goes to Ronnie, and I think her name is Janet. And Ronnie is trying to comfort Janet because, you know, her son was just killed, and you know, she's telling Ronnie, you know, you basically need to do something. And Ronnie trying to tell her, you know, the cops said they looking into it, and Ronnie is like, I'ma ask around. And she was like, no, don't ask around. You need to do something. You need to find something out. Now it looks like Ronnie is back at his house. He's back at that spot. And earlier, when it first came on, Ronnie said he was not gonna drink. You know, he was trying to purify himself so he could be focused and everything. But in this scene, you see he got a bottle. He's back to drinking, and he pulled one of his friends up. I think the friend name was Chris, and he asked him, you know, have you heard anything about Jason? And he was like, well, Red said one of his lookouts might have seen something. And so Ronnie was like, oh, so Red gonna be on the block? And he was like, yeah, I told him you was gonna come through a little bit later. Ronnie is on the block talking to Red, and Red is telling him, you know, man, we ain't never seen your son on this block in front of my house until that night. You know, one of my lookouts said he seen the kid that was looking over the body. And he was like, what? Where he at? So, you know, the dude that's seen everything, he comes and he tell Ronnie, you know, what happened. What I noticed too in this whole part is I noticed everybody who deal with Red, the drug dealer in that particular area, they all were red. So I don't know if that's like a key point in this whole series or not, if it's gonna be another crew that wear a different color, I'm not sure, but I'm noticing that, you know, the lookout dude, that night he had on red, this time he got on red, Red got on red, you know, his car is red, and his chick, I don't really want to touch that subject, I'm gonna leave that alone, but y'all can leave some comments at the bottom, because I don't want to touch that, I don't want to touch that. But leave some comments at the bottom and we could talk in the comments or whatever. So Red tells Ronnie, you know, do what you gotta do, but just make sure it don't mess up what we got going on no further than what it already has. Kevin goes into these auditions that he signed up for. Remember, he really didn't want to do it because he liked Andrea. So that's the only reason why he signed up for it. So he goes in there and he asks her, you know, maybe we could go to the mall sometime. And she's like, when? And he was like, well, maybe this weekend. And she's like, she tell him, you know, now I can't go this weekend because I'm going with Jake. And he like, when? Since when? And she was like, since this afternoon. Kevin is mad. He's pissed. He don't even want to be in the play anymore because he's so upset. So Coogee on his way to the corner store, you know, he locks his bike up and everything and he heads in. Ronnie is across the street watching. So then it switches to Kevin, Papa, and Jake. And they're fussing and mad. They walking down the alley. They mad because of, you know, with the situation with Jake and Kevin, because Jake went and asked a young lady out, you know, to go out. So they fussing and pushing each other and all that stuff. And so Kevin basically said, you know, fuck y'all. And he walks ahead of them. And then it switched back to Coogee. Coogee is now coming out the store. And Ronnie approaches him and asks him, was he on 79th last night? And he was like, no. You know, he was like, well, you know, my son was killed last night on 79th. You know, he was like, man, I don't know nothing about that. I don't know nothing. And he grabbed his arm and he asked him about the chain. You know, this is my son's chain. Ronnie is like, I gave my son that chain. And he was like, no, man, I found this chain. I found this chain. And as they're arguing, Kevin is walking down the alley. Kevin heard them arguing, so he run and he hide behind a van. And he tell Papa and Jake to, you know, hold up. So they kind of duck to the side or whatever, and then it goes back to Coogie and Ronnie, and he's pushing him. So as Ronnie pulling him and stuff, and Coogie is telling him, no man, I told the cops I didn't see anything. Your son was dead when I got there. He was already dead. The same thing I told the police. You know, no, I don't know nothing. Here, take the chain. And he was like, no. As he was saying this, Ronnie is pulling a gun out of his pocket. And they still kind of tussling or whatever. And Coogie is trying to get him to take the chain. Ronnie ain't taking it. Next thing you know, the gun goes off. And Coogie is shot. Coogie falls to the ground, dead on impact. Once Ronnie realized what happened, he's just kind of in shock. And next thing you know, he takes off running toward the alley. And as he come around the corner, he see Kevin there just kind of holding his hand, because Kevin's seen everything. And Kevin is just kind of holding his hands up like, you know, it looked like he wanted to say he didn't see anything, but he's so scared that he didn't say anything. And Ronnie just took off running the opposite way. So Kevin, Jake, and Papa take off running, and next thing you know, the next scene is the police is there at the corner store. Everything is taped off. The detective crews come, and you know, he just walking like it's just a normal, regular, you know, homicide. And as he get close to the scene, he see that it's Coogie, and you could tell by the look on his face, he's kind of hurt by it, because he knew Coogie was a good kid. He knew Coogie didn't have anything to do with that murder, and it wasn't nothing he could do. So he just kind of stirred at the body. So now it shows Brandon going to work, and you know, he's just getting there and everything, and then he get a phone call. It's Jerica, and Jerica tell him Coogie is dead. You know, and he just kind of break down and just instantly start crying. Ronnie is back to Janet's house, and he hand her the necklace, her son's necklace, and she instantly know that, you know, he took care of the situation. And she started crying, and they grab hands, and she pulled him inside the house. Now it's back on Brandon and his family. They at Coogie's funeral. Laverne, she blames Brandon. She tell, I told you to watch him. How could you let this happen? And so they go back and forth like, you know, I'm gone, I'm finna leave. Now Kevin, Jake, and Papa is back at school. It's the next day. And they saying, you know, I'm not walking that way no more. I'm not walking in that alley. That man might be looking for us. And Kevin remind them, you know, I'm the one he saw. He didn't see y'all. And so next thing you know, the music teacher calls Kevin, because it's time for Kevin to rehearse for this play that he really don't want to do. After the argument with Brandon and Laverne, Brandon decides to go to work. He's trying to get his mind off of the fact that his brother is dead. You know, so he goes to work, and as soon as he get in there, his boss like, what are you doing? You know, I thought you were supposed to be at the funeral. And he was like, no, you know, I need to work. And his boss really didn't want him to work, but he like, no, just give me a shot. You know, this is my shot. If I mess up, then, you know, I'll leave and I'll never come back. And so the boss is like, you know, okay. So now he gets in there and he get ready to do this steak, and you could tell he's in the zone. You can't tell me his boss wife don't want Brandon. She want Brandon. And I could tell, because she keep on looking at him, giving googly eyes, and he giving her googly eyes and all that old stuff. Watch. Later on in the season, it's gonna happen. Now Brandon is at the convenience store getting Coogie's bike, and Emmett is there trying to buy some Pampers and some more stuff or whatever. So he comes out and tell the owner, the convenience store owner, hey, you know, I'm trying to ring out. Ain't nobody in here. And he say, you know, have some respect. His brother was just killed. He was like, oh, you know, Coogie was your brother? And he like, yeah, you know, I'm sorry. You know, he said, I'm sorry for what happened or whatever. And then he tried to ask him what happened. He was like, man, you know, I don't know. And he was like, well, my girl said her brother might know something about it. Now Brandon is over Kevin's house trying to convince him to tell him, you know, and Kevin like, no, you know, I'm not saying nothing, because, you know, whoever killed your brother, they gonna find out I knew something, they gonna come kill me, you know. No, I'm not saying nothing. And so Brandon basically pulled him out the house and like, you gonna tell me something. You know what? I'll give you whatever you want, I'll give it to you. And Kevin is just kind of standing there, and he like, I want the wheels. He was like, no, you can't. Brandon said, no, you can't have that. You can't have that. So Kevin like, Brandon reached in his pocket to get the money out, and he's counting. It was like $42. Kevin grabs the money, and he was like, and the bike. So he got the $42 and the bike. He gonna tell Brandon what he needs to know. So now Kevin and Brandon is walking and talking, and he's basically telling him the story. As they walking down the alley, Kevin noticed the guy. He like, that's the dude. And Brandon kind of pushed him back a little bit and say, where? Which one? And Kevin says, the one with the hat. So Brandon kind of looked over his shoulder to, you know, to see Ronnie. And he asked Kevin again, are you sure? And he was like, yeah. And as he looking back over his shoulder, he gets a text. The text says, you got the job. So then Kevin asks him, what you gonna do? And that's how it ends. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment at the bottom, thumbs up the video. I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.